So I was saying that every single officer who could be a threat to Ironsi was taken out in January. And so people like Adewale Ademoyega out, Shodeinde out, Kal Mohammed out, Memalari out, Lagema out, Pam out. Those 6 were out. They were senior officers, especially Adewale Ademoyega. The other guys that were senior, that they were not killed, but were not killed, and they were not Igbos. Those ones, people like Babafemi Ogundipe, people like Adenka Adebayo, people like Adekunle, those ones, they were not in town, and they were not definitely in Lagos. The ones that were around Lagos, Kaduna, killed everybody. Enugu, nothing happened there. Now, after all of them were dead, the most senior officer that was around at the time was Victor Banjo. So it made sense that a day after he came into power, he would send him packing and even organize to kill him. And that's why if you read Victor Banjo's letter, written on 1st of June 1966, while he was in prison at Ikorekpene, he mentioned that it's difficult to believe that you were sitting 20 feet away from that incident. You are telling me that you didn't know about it. Okay, so he definitely knew about it. Moving on from there, back to the broadcast by Victor Banjo. So he says, fellow Nigerians and Biafrans, by the way, for a person who you know that didn't support Biafra, to even be saying fellow Nigerians, he still had it at his mind that he went to rescue Nigeria from whatever it was he was trying to rescue us from. You know what? I would understand if they were trying to rescue Nigeria from Murtala Mohammed, but from Gowon, I don't really get it, but let's continue. Fellow Nigerians and Biafrans, I am sure I do not need to introduce myself to you, nor perhaps to many people outside the country. You have already had ample opportunity to hear my name in January 1966 when this political crisis started in our country. Unfortunately, at that time, I also heard about the circumstances under which my name was being publicized at a time when I was in no position to do anything about it. I was then accused of attempting the life of the late Supreme Commander, Major General J.T. Ironsi, and for the attempt, I was arrested and detained. Fellow Nigerians, nothing could be farther from the truth. The army mutiny, which started the revolution in January 66, was as much a surprise to me as was to some of my colleagues. Interestingly, it wasn't a surprise to Ironsi at all. Again, I've done sessions on this before. We'll do it again if need be. Fellow Nigerians, something could be farther from the truth. The army mutiny, which started the revolution in January 1966, was as much a surprise to me as was to some of my colleagues. I spent all my time studying some of the events to ascertain the true state of affairs in the country. My colleague then was Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon, who was the first officer to give me precise information about the state of affairs. It then appeared to me that sufficient steps had been taken to ensure the removal of several governments of the Federation, and that the totality of the trend of events could be regarded as the beginning of a national revolution. I then considered it my duty to ensure that no further military action took place, which might have the effect of totally destroying the nation. I felt that the young officers who had started the action were only anxious to destroy what had been the most corrupt and discredited government. As such, I spent considerable time urging the late Major General Ironsi to assume responsibility for the state with the support of the army to ensure that the Nigerian nation remained united and was protected from national collapse. 1 second, please. On YouTube, someone said there must be something wrong with Banjo. How can you escape from Ironsi and immediately jump into Ojuku's wagon? Don't talk like that. Don't talk like that. Don't talk like that. See, Orosheniwo. Sorry, I had to pause because I thought that was heavy. Victor Banjo did not jump from Ironsi to join Ojuku. That's not what happened. And I think oversimplifying stuff and making it so simplistic, actually, when we do that, we run the risk of misjudging. Ironsi imprisoned him, detained him in the ship, from the ship to Kirikiri in prison, from Kirikiri to Aba, from Aba to Ikorekpene, from Ikorekpene to Enugu. He was in prison all this while. He was in prison, and then he was released by Ojuku. Why were they moving from? I don't know. They did it for many of those people. By the way, Ironsi said that he was trying to save him in February. In the space of 4 months, he was in 3 cities. Within the space of 4 months, the man was in 3 cities. Okay? And then eventually landed in Enugu. It was not like Ojuku, it wasn't like Victor Banjo was in prison in Lagos. Ironsi then sets him free. Then he got on a bus and traveled to Enugu and says to Ojuku, hey, my friend, I'm going to fight on your side. That's not what happened. The 6th till May of 1967. All that time he was in prison. That's more than a year. That's about 15 months. And then he was released by Ojuku. And then he worked with the person who released him, who he had known even before he was arrested. That information is very, very important. So we don't just say, he's a terrible person, doesn't have sense, all those things. All right, let's remember that. Thank you. Let's go back to this. So he says, I felt that the young officers who had started the action were only anxious to destroy what had been the most corrupt and discredited government. As such, I spent considerable time. By the way, I'm not saying that what he did was right, though. He was very naive, but I also don't want to just jump to the thing of saying, Burukuni and so on and so forth. All right, let's continue. As such, I spent considerable time urging the late Major General Ironsi to assume responsibility for the state. By the way, this is what I noticed with Yorùbá bots. They usually think they have bright ideas. They don't even know they are being used. And I'll quickly explain. When you read the book by Adewale Ademoyega, he made a show of the fact that he was one of the first 3 people who started planning the coup. And then they were going to change Nigeria. Not knowing that he was the last person that they actually recruited. You only discover that when you read the special branch report of April 1966, that he was actually the last of the 7 people, 5 majors and 2 captains, to plan the coup. The Yorùbá bots, the Yorùbá, idealistic Yorùbá people, they did tribalized ones. They do something funny. They have the idea that they are the ones actually doing something. Like, so for instance, you look at someone like Ademoyega, he will say something like, I was one of the 3 people, and you can even believe that it was in 1961 that the seed of the revolution was planted when I first met those 2 others. He's talking about Nzogu and Ifajuna. That's what he said. When you read the special branch report, you discover that the original people that planned that coup, thank you Yetunde, thank you, the original people that planned that coup were Ifajuna, Okafor and Oji. I say it every time, but I say it again and again because of new people who join. When you put those 3 people together, then they add Chukwuka, then they brought in Anuforo. Anuforo brought in Uzogu. Uzogu then brought in Ademoyega. But Ademoyega is making it look as if he was one of the original planners. Now, is he part of the coup planners? Yes. Is he part of the original 3? No. What happened to him is exactly what's happening to Victor Banjo as well. And who is speaking here? Victor Banjo himself is talking. This is radio broadcast at Benin, in Benin. He said, I spent considerable time urging the late Major General Ironsi to assume responsibility for the state with the support of the army. Now, he thought he was doing something. He was one who convinced him. But in reality, when you read the book by Gowon, the book that's titled Gowon, it's by J. Isawa Elaigo. Gowon said, the night before, this is the night of the 14th, the coup took place 3 a.m. on the 15th. So a few hours before the coup took place, Ironsi told him that you talk to him and his girlfriend, Evelyn, you guys should have a great time because nobody knows tomorrow. When you read, you may say that doesn't really mean anything. Well, maybe you have a point there. So he said nobody knows tomorrow. And he was wondering, why would you say that to me? We're just living a party, let's us have fun because nobody knows tomorrow. And he didn't think much of it until after the coup happened. If you read them, there's a book that just came to my mind right now. Yes, Ben Boulier. The book is called Nigeria's 5 Majors. He said that on the day of the coup itself, the 8th hour, the D-Day, that both Okafor and Oji betrayed the cause. They betrayed the revolution by ensuring that nothing happened to Ironsi, because Ironsi was from the same town as Oji, which was Umaya. And then he said it was too much of a coincidence. These were his own words. The book again is called Nigeria's Five Majors. He said it was too much of a coincidence that while Oji and Okafor were driving to Ironsi's house, Ironsi was also driving away from the house. And that's why when you read the book by Ademoyega, Why We Struck, and Okafor just comes along and says to him, I've lost all my men, I couldn't accomplish anything. You begin to wonder, why couldn't he accomplish anything? Because he was not supposed to accomplish anything. So think about it. Okafor and Oji, part of the original three guys, did not do anything. Ifajuna, part of the original three guys, after unaliving Memalari, carried Okafor, that's him Okafor, and traveled to Enugu and got to Enugu by afternoon. Meanwhile, Ademoyega did not know that they had left. One more thing. When you read the book by Hilary M. Njoku, A Tragedy Without Heroes, he mentioned that on the 15th in the morning, early in the morning, around 5 a.m. In fact, let me start with the one by Gowon. Let me finish with Gowon. Around 5 a.m. with Gowon. Gowon was there with the boys. Njoku was also there. And the reason I'm talking about the two books is because both of them were there at the same time and they wrote about it. So you put it together, you can create the scene. There's another third person that came later. That was David Ejo. He also wrote another book. It's called Reminiscences. We'll get to that much later. Anyway, Gowon said, when he got to the office, to the GOC's office, the GOC told the boys to wait 2 more hours. Why on earth would you wait 2 more hours to go chase the people who caused Wala? So they said Wala 3 a.m. We are together at 5 a.m. You are telling the boys to wait until 7 a.m. Why? It was actually Gowon. That's why I said Ironsi did not quell any coup in Nigeria. Ironsi was part of a coup and he took advantage of it fully. It was Gowon who said, boys, I give you 15 minutes. We've got to go now. And that was how they left. But before they left, Njoku said, while they were there, Ironsi muttered to himself, but they said they will kill nobody. They said they will not kill anybody. After a while, he said it again. He said, but they said there will be no bloodshed. What does that tell you? In the planning of it, the only thing that they disapproved of was killing. Not taking over or having a coup or any of those things. So why did I say that? If a person knew all of those things, and I've given like 3 sources right now, I've given 4 sources. Gowon, The Biography of a Soldier Statesman by J. Samuel Laigo. I've given you Nigeria's 5 Majors by Ben Bule. I've given you the Special Branch Report of April 1966, and I've given you A Tragedy Without Heroes by Hilary Njoku. If, according to these 4 sources, this person knew about it and was protected from the wahala that happened because of the coup, and you now read this book by Colonel Victor Banjo, and you see Victor Banjo's own statement that he was the one who convinced Ironsi to do something, would you not think that Yoruba people that do all this Yoruba, but we are just fooling ourselves? You are advising the person. Let me give you one more source, a 5th source. Beckon to serve. This same Ironsi that said, that this man is saying he was one who convinced to take over power. Ironsi went to Orizu's place where NCNC parliamentarians and MPC parliamentarians were meeting, took Orizu aside for 40 minutes, had a conversation with him. Definitely Azikiwe was patched in, because Azikiwe mentioned that he had a call with Orizu much later in the evening of the 16th. They had a conversation right there. They discussed for 40 minutes. You are telling me you are the one who made him do anything? So I'm saying that to the pure, all things are pure. The Yoruba obedience, Yoruba bots, the detribalized, I don't even know what that word means. Well, I know, but it doesn't mean anything sensible. The idea of being detribalized, you are a tool, not in my hands. You know how you watch Pefti, you are a pencil in the hand of creator. You are a pencil in the hand of, called ethnic jingoism. That's the basis of their thought. But you are thinking, oh, we are all Nigeria. There's no need for ethnicity. Let's remove state of origin. Let's have this thing. Peter Obi is in. Let me tell you something. You are joking. By the way, I don't like the idea of Peter Obi being in president, even being in anything politics, apart from in Anambra State. That's me, Shao. That's me. I mean, all, God bless him, God increase him. But as far as politics is concerned, yeah, in that region is fine. Because there's nothing I see that actually. I wonder what's the excitement with these kids. What's the excitement? Because they are mostly children. What's the excitement? What is it that this person has done that is making you? Because you look through the videos, irony. I have one wristwatch for 17 years. I have one shoe. Like it's just all these things just put together. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that idea that you think you are putting in their minds, I suggested something to them to take over Nigeria. They already had it before you came along. And that's why it was very easy to dispose of someone like him, Victor Banjo. Let's go back to his speech.